You step out onto the veranda of your sprawling, sun-drenched Australian dream home, a glass of iced water in your hand, admiring the expansive landscape you just poured your entire life savings into. This is the magnificent illusion you were sold, the promise of the boundless, prosperous land down under, a place of infinite growth and security. But what happens when you walk back inside, turn on the kitchen tap, and instead of a rush of crystal-clear water, you are greeted by a hollow, agonizing hiss? The reality of the Australian dream is rapidly turning into a terrifying nightmare of cracked earth and bone-dry reservoirs. We are witnessing a slow-motion catastrophe where the absolute most fundamental element of human survival is vanishing into thin air, dragging entire local economies down into the dust with it. As the water disappears, so does the equity in your home. The stakes have literally never been higher. Hard-working families are watching generations of wealth evaporate, finding themselves trapped in homes they can neither live in comfortably nor sell to anyone else. We are about to count down the top 10 Australian cities teetering on the absolute brink of running dry. A severe water disaster that is triggering an unprecedented freefall in property values across the nation. You will absolutely want to stay until the very end, because the city sitting at number 1 is a booming regional powerhouse where million-dollar estates are quietly transforming into worthless, unlivable dust traps. A shocking reality no one saw coming. If you want to stay ahead of the hidden crises reshaping our world and join a community that dares to look beneath the surface of the headlines, take a second right now to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a vital revelation. Let us begin our descent into the dry zone. Coming in at number 10 is the city of Warwick in Queensland. You drive through what used to be a lush, thriving agricultural hub, but now the anxiety hangs heavy and thick in the dusty air. The local water supply, Leslie Dam, has repeatedly flirted with single-digit capacity percentages, transforming the surrounding property market into a zone of deep, paralyzing hesitation. Homeowners who bought at the peak of the market are now staring down a barrel of 20 to 30% devaluations on their properties. Buyers are simply refusing to sign contracts when they cannot guarantee their children will have reliable water for a bath. Just across the border at number 9 lies Tenterfield in New South Wales. Here, the crisis takes an even more intimate psychological toll on the community. You walk down the historic main street and speak to locals who have watched their reliable town dam turn into a shallow, muddy puddle. The financial consequence is brutal and immediate. Real estate agents are struggling to give properties away, with majestic heritage homes sitting on the open market for countless months, eventually selling at devastating losses. Families who relied solely on the equity of their properties to fund their retirement are now forced into grueling manual labor, their wealth absorbed by the parched, unforgiving soil. The desperation is palpable, setting the stage for even steeper declines as we move deeper into the arid heartland. At number 8, the situation escalates violently in Stanthorpe, Queensland, a town historically famous for its lush wineries and thriving orchards, now finding itself entirely dependent on a relentless fleet of trucks hauling water just to keep the local population alive. Imagine being a resident here, waking up every single morning to the heavy rumble of diesel engines carrying the town's daily lifeblood over the highway. The local economy is intrinsically tied to the health of the land, and as the apple trees wither and the grapevines turn brittle, the property market has plunged into a state of absolute paralysis. Farms that were valued in the tens of millions just 5 short years ago are being rapidly abandoned, leaving behind sprawling ghost properties that drag surrounding residential values down into the dirt with them. Families are being fractured, with younger generations fleeing to the coastal cities in search of security, leaving the elderly trapped in rapidly depreciating houses they cannot possibly liquidate. Moving forward to number 7, we find the vibrant city of Orange in New South Wales. This is not some remote, forgotten outback outpost. It is a wealthy, thriving regional centre, globally known for its cool climate wines and booming culinary scene. But beneath the surface, wealth lies a terrifying and hidden vulnerability. When the municipal water reserves plummet, the panic is silent, but financially devastating to the core. You see ambitious investors pulling out of multi-million-dollar residential developments overnight, leaving half-built skeletons of houses baking in the sun. The intense psychological weight of Level 5 water restrictions means you are strictly monitoring every single drop, timing your 2-minute showers with a stopwatch while watching your property's assessed value hemorrhage tens of thousands of dollars a month. The pristine illusion of regional luxury is completely shattering, replaced by the grim reality of severe water insecurity. At number 6, we arrive at Dubbo, New South Wales, where the mighty Macquarie River, the historic lifeblood of the entire region, has repeatedly threatened to cease flowing entirely. You look out over the once majestic riverbank and see nothing but a pathetic chain of stagnant, algae-filled pools. The economic ripple effect here is nothing short of catastrophic. Major banks are becoming increasingly terrified of underwriting 30-year mortgages in a city that might not have viable drinking water in 5 years. You try to refinance your family home, only to be coldly told by a calculating risk assessor that your beloved suburb is now classified as a high-risk severe drought zone. Local business owners who dangerously leveraged their homes to fund their retail shops are facing a brutal double ruin. They have absolutely no customers, and their home equity has been wiped out. The social fabric of Dubbo is tearing apart as financial stress leads to broken marriages, shattered community trusts, and a growing epidemic of silent desperation among homeowners who feel abandoned by the system. Entering the highly critical top half of our countdown at number 5 is Broken Hill, the legendary and historic Silver City of New South Wales. This iconic mining town was built on sheer human grit, but you quickly learn that you cannot mine fresh water from solid stone. The nearby Menindee Lakes, once a sprawling and beautiful oasis, have frequently been reduced to a horrific mass grave for millions of rotting fish, creating an apocalyptic stench that drifts for miles into the town. You walk through the sun-baked streets of Broken Hill and see the bright red real estate signs multiplying like a virus across every neighborhood. Property values here have experienced violent, sickening drops, with some family homes losing up to 40% of their market value in the direct wake of these severe water shortages. Imagine working deep underground in the treacherous mines for decades, investing every spare cent you earn into a beautiful family home, only to realize the town's very existence is fundamentally unsustainable. The banks know it, the insurance companies know it, and now the desperate residents are bearing the crushing financial weight of climate reality. The tragedy intensifies exponentially at number 4, Alice Springs, in the Northern Territory. Surrounded by the breathtaking, iconic red dirt of the outback, this vital regional hub relies entirely on ancient, underground aquifers to survive. But you cannot cheat geological time. These subterranean water reservoirs are being aggressively drained vastly faster than nature can ever hope to replenish them. You turn on the garden sprinkler to keep a tiny patch of green grass alive, completely oblivious to the terrifying fact that you are spraying precious water that literally fell from the sky thousands of years ago. As the stark realization of this finite lifeline hits the local real estate market, the panic is absolute. Commercial investors are quietly and rapidly divesting their portfolios, triggering a massive residential crash that leaves hard-working middle-class families holding the bag. The romanticized dream of outback living is rapidly dissolving into a severely arid nightmare. At number 3, the crisis reaches a horrifying and dystopian peak in Walgett, New South Wales. This is a town where the rivers literally stopped flowing entirely, and the municipal taps ran completely dry. You are forced to rely on highly treated bore water, water so heavily laden with sodium that it aggressively corrodes your copper pipes, ruins your expensive washing machines, and absolutely cannot be used to sustain a simple backyard garden. The psychological trauma of turning on a faucet and genuinely fearing the chemical composition of the water is immense. Real estate in Walgett has not just dipped, it has plummeted straight into the abyss. Houses here are almost entirely unsellable. You could not give them away to a stranger. Desperate families are simply walking away from their crushing mortgages, deeply traumatized by a landscape that has turned completely hostile, abandoning their investments to the elements. They are locking the front doors of their homes, throwing the keys into the red dirt and driving away to start over with absolutely nothing. leaving entire neighborhoods to be slowly reclaimed by the unforgiving dust. We have now reached number 2 on our countdown, Mildura, Victoria. Perched gracefully on the banks of the iconic Murray River, this city was brilliantly engineered to be an agricultural paradise, a lush green jewel set in a harsh, dry landscape. But the Murray is a highly contested, desperately over-allocated lifeline. When the inevitable drought strikes, you watch in horror as the vital water allocations are severely slashed and the vast, profitable orchards of citrus and almonds begin to wither and die in the blistering summer heat. The resulting economic devastation is an unstoppable avalanche. It is not just the farmers who lose everything they have worked for. The entire town's economy is fundamentally tethered to that flowing water. As local businesses abruptly shutter and jobs vanish into thin air, the housing market completely collapses under the massive weight of mass foreclosures. You see desperate, crying families trying to sell beautiful riverside properties only to face a relentless barrage of aggressive, insulting lowball offers from predatory out-of-town investors looking to capitalize on their absolute misery. The panic is a living, breathing entity in the streets of Mildura, but it incredibly pales in comparison to the sheer horror awaiting our final city. At number 1, the absolute most shocking and devastating water crisis in all of Australia unfolds in Tamworth, New South Wales. Known globally as the vibrant country music capital, this thriving economic powerhouse brilliantly presents an illusion of unshakable prosperity and endless growth. Yet, beneath the vibrant music festivals and bustling local commerce, Tamworth has directly stared down the terrifying apocalyptic barrel of what experts call Day Zero, the exact calculated date the city's entire municipal water supply drops to absolutely nothing. Imagine being a proud resident in a modern, wealthy city, sitting comfortably in your multi-million-dollar suburban home, knowing with absolute certainty that in less than 6 months, the water will simply cease to exist. The psychological terror of that countdown is matched only by the financial bloodbath it creates. The very moment the catastrophic threat of Day Zero made national headlines, Tamworth's property values entered a catastrophic, unrecoverable freefall. Wealthy retirees and ambitious young families alike found themselves hopelessly trapped in a market that vanished literally overnight. Potential buyers completely disappeared, and those who desperately needed to relocate for work or family were brutally forced to accept losses, so staggering they permanently erased lifetimes of careful savings. You are looking directly at a terrifying future where grand, beautiful estates become worthless monuments to human hubris, serving as dry tombs in a parched, unforgiving landscape. The water disaster is no longer a distant threat. It is right here, mercilessly destroying homes, erasing generational wealth, and permanently rewriting the map. The taps are sputtering, the earth is cracking, and the great Australian dream is drying up before our very eyes.